moved to Wampanoag, but my heart's in Muscatine. My daughter wouldn't have moved down there.
My heart in Muscatine.
Yeah.
Get Tony Bennett.
My heart is
That's true.
I know the words to that song.
Your daughter's down there.
Yeah, and my other daughter's in Arizona, so I figured we could have someone in
Hour and 15.
came to visit.
Not counting those.
She better never move.
Sewer, you got sewer separation.
Well, you know, there's seating, so I mean,
Action
they're not
items look
seated,
pretty.
so that means that
That's what I mean.
Cut and dry.
He said, but it's, you can't just line
the
it.
gravel on the roadway and everything. There's a couple of spots they're still working on. Yeah, yeah.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to call tonight's meeting to order. Fran, will you please do the roll call?
Councilmembers Raywalt.
Present.
Fitzgerald.
Present.
Notvig.
Present.
Saucedo.
Present.
Bynum. Harvey.
Present.
Spread.
Present.
6 present and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, Fran. Will you please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. We're going to start tonight's meeting with a presentation by Nancy Snod of Alliant Energy. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Well, I know that you record this, so you probably...
Yes, we do. Can someone help her with the microphone, please?
For some reason, it's tipped.
Great, thank you. Is it?
Thank you, John.
Thank you very much. Great to see everybody. Thank you so much for the time this evening. I was saying to Fran, you get to see me once a year, whether you need it or not. At least the council does, but I do meet more frequently than that with some of the other folks in the community. Been doing quite a bit this year with some of your team over at Public Works. Stan O'Brien's been very active with getting some rebates going, and we're hoping to get one more underway before the end of the year. We have a operating presence right here at 215 Oak Street with 18 employees. And I apologize, I neglected to introduce myself at the top of this. My name is Nancy Snod. I'm an account manager with Alliant Energy. And again, we have our presence at 215 Oak Street with 18 employees. The other thing I've been doing in Muscatine recently, we've had some very good applications and engagement with some of the great 501c3 organizations and public organizations that are eligible for our foundation support. And I was asking the Chief Edwards if he had seen my picture on the Sheriff of Muscatine's Facebook page. They recently got a grant from us for $700 that they're going to use to buy some specialized safety vests for water rescue. I also had 2 meetings with the Rondette Family Resources. She got a grant for $600 in the first round of applications, and then the most recent application, she was awarded $3,500 for Family Resources. We also have had some activity with our tree planting programs, and a lot of these numbers are from last year. And in 2016, in Louisa County, there was a planting at New Monkey Run Park, and the trees were valued at $7,545. And then there was some planting along both sides of Nebraska Street for another $2,500. And I know I've spoken with Greg, and he has indicated to me that you've applied for some grants for our next go-around in 2018. And there's some great projects going on, whether it's going to be the new park. Which park is that? It's the dog park, Greg? And then you also have some reforestation going in where emerald ash borers have taken out a lot of ash trees. So either one of those are great projects, and I'm looking forward to seeing at what level those grant applications will be supported. Some of the other things that we've been doing, we've been making a lot of investments, some significant proactive investments in our facilities. We had a new main pipe and new service connections for all the customers out at the mall. and everything was working fine, but we wanted to make sure that we were in a position to support any development out there, and we were proactive with that. Sometimes it gets a little messy. We might have had some detours and things like that, but it looks to me like you folks are getting used to driving around the orange cones, at least downtown. Hope it wasn't too much of an interruption. We also are finishing up some customer piping for just a few residential customers and businesses that had meters on the inside. We like to move those meters on the outside because that's the way things are done with the tariff now, and also it makes it easier for us to service those. So we're finishing up relocating about 40 meters to the outsides of buildings. Next, we will be doing what we're calling our smart meter conversion, and we're doing this by regions, and it's going to be really good thing for customers. About 2 years ago, we got a brand new billing system, and we think that these new meters are going to work really well with that. And we're just moving right along into the 21st century with all the technology. So this is going to be a good thing for our customers. And so folks will see a lot of activity with our crews in the coming year. The other thing, we're a taxpayer in the county and in the city, of course, and in Loiza County we paid $242,234 in taxes in 2016, and in the city of Muscatine we paid $210,696. We also had some energy efficiency programs where the residential customers were engaged, and the rebates, we paid out 714 unique rebates for a total of $227,895. In a community this size, that's very good participation. So I'm glad to see people are keeping the programs in mind, and also energy efficiency. If anybody had any questions for me?
Nancy,
Yes,
nice to see you again.
thank you.
We may be in a position to sell gas to you. And
You may be in a position to, I'm sorry?
sell gas to you.
Oh, okay.
Can you put your microphone in front of you, please?
At once upon a time, the FERC rules were it was on an avoided cost basis that it was calculated. And there's no reason why you would know the answer to this. But if you could check to see what FERC says you have to pay us for that, that would be very helpful, I think.
Okay. So we can
And
have a extended
John?
conversation about that. Greg, should I give you a call about that?
Yeah, just give me a call. You got my information.
Sure,
We'll hook
absolutely.
you up with John.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, and always consider me your first contact for any question, and then I don't know all the answers, but I know how to connect the dots, and that's what they
You
count
don't
on
know
me
all
to
the
do.
answers in the FERC manuals?
No, I don't. No. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. We appreciate everything you do for our
Well, I
community.
appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Next on tonight's agenda, excuse me, is there anyone here who would like to speak to council about something not currently on tonight's agenda? If so, please come to the podium and state your name and address.
Kelsey Brackett, 2817 Mulberry.
Gideon Brockert, 6814 McIntyre Road.
Osmond Malcolm, 516 West 4th Street.
Okay, Mayor and Council. So we obviously have a little different perspective than some, but we stand here as residents. And after seeing the lawsuit filed on Friday, we have some concerns that we need a separation between that lawsuit and operations of the city. And so we've discussed it, and also based on conversations we've had with other individuals, think that it might be prudent for a paid leave of absence for the city administrator, and would ask for you to consider that, looking at potentially a 90-day leave just to get some outside counsel to find out what we need to do. It seems not in anyone's best interests on either side of that to have somebody that is filing suit against the city still operating in that role. We don't see this as a punishment. We don't see this as anything along those lines, but simply as a means to provide appropriate separation. And I don't know if either of you would like to add anything to that, but that was what I wanted to state.
Also, I'd like you to consider retaining special counsel to represent the citizens of Muscatine. By the lawsuit, you sued the city. all the residents of the city. Without the residents, there's no city. So I don't think should be involved, or any of the residents should be involved needlessly. And if we have special counsel who can represent the residents and the city better, that'd be fine. We kind of thought about the current city council. He has a good working relationship, we understand, with the administration and stuff. So there's a conflict with that as well. So maybe special counsel could be considered given time to review all the facts and stuff. And then after about 90 days, hopefully, the special counsel could come back to the council and make his or her recommendations on what he or she thinks, and everybody move forward based on the gathered information. And hopefully it'll resolve itself. But right now, our biggest concern is about the residents and how this affects them. That's our main concern.
I know the people in my ward were hoping that once the election was over that this whole thing would have been resolved, and that does not seem to have been the case, for which we are very disappointed. So I echo the comments of Kelsey and Oz in wanting to bring this to a peaceful close.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to council? Please state your name and address.
Roger Strong, 2120 Bidwell. I wrote some stuff down because memory's going. Greetings this evening, Honorable Mayor, members of council, city staff, and fellow Muscatine residents. Little disclaimer before we start. I only represent myself. I do not represent any group or groups or other individuals with these statements or questions that I'm going to ask tonight. Fun fact trivia. Playing on the computer a little bit here the last few days. Did you know that the city of Cedar Rapids city administrator gets a base pay of $257,000 compared to Muscatine's $157,000 base? Population difference is 134,000 in Cedar Rapids to 24,000 in Muscatine. Cedar Rapids pays $1.93 per citizen, while Muscatine pays $6.54 per citizen. Just something to think about. That's the first part. I'm sure, as most of you have heard, this past Tuesday there was a closed session held downstairs by council to evaluate our city clerk administrator's yearly performance. We also know what that outcome of that session was. It was a 2% pay increase for Greg. My questions, I guess, would be to our esteemed at-large council member Santos. During the open session discussion after the closed session, when the public spoke, you stated several items. I've highlighted a couple of them here. One, it's only 2%. Two, only $2,000. And three, most all other city employees will get the same. And also, you stated it was a cost of living. I believe that this was not a cost of living, but a merit raise as published after the fact. So at this time, would you like to rebut what you said, make a correction for the public?
So what I explained is there's a new program that we developed last year, and it is a merit program.
I understand that.
Okay.
Would you like to comment on what you called it? I asked you a question.
Let him answer.
Okay.
This is again continued for you to understand. We implemented a program which I explained to the reporter. It is a 1 to 3% bracketing, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 type. And what we had in our meeting is for us to be able to say, if an individual is able to maintain, meet all the requirements, and still stay within budgets, oversee all the budgets in the departments and not have anything, and when you look at that, we say, can someone be able to be qualifying for a merit program? Which we requested as of last year, to start giving the employees the opportunity to reach this 3%, which is a couple hundred employees from the city. That's what we requested. And so when, in not being able to talk about closed sessions is the fact that if an individual meets those needs, then we want to try to give them a merit
I
program.
understand the merit
Okay,
program.
so then that's what we decided to go ahead and do and meet that. So it was from 155 to 157. Might have been 157.8 or something to that effect, but I'm not 100% sure on the.
I think his question
That
was.
was not my question. Thank you, Your Honor. My question was your
Oh.
statements that you made to the public, not to the press, to the general public. To me, it felt like you was misleading the individuals that were at that meeting at that time.
In regards to stating that there was a merit.
But it was only a
raise.
2%, it was a cost of living,
Well,
and
when
it
an
only amounts to
individual comes up
2,000.
before you, said that we were gonna get $50,000 raise, yes, it was obviously
Mr.
a
Rhodes,
big difference.
Mr. Rhodes was misinformed
Was
in his.
misinformed, okay,
he-
so my
he-
point to you is
Not
that.
misinformed, I'm sorry, he was misquoted. He was thinking one thing and talking another. We talked
Okay.
afterwards.
If I
So-
can jump in here, I think what you're asking is, why did you call it a cost of living raise when
Right.
he's saying it was a merit raise?
So, yes, if I said that, and what I meant was that it was a merit of 2%.
Yeah, you said
Okay.
cost of living
Well, because we also give a cost of living raise
back in
across.
July.
In July.
Yes.
Yes.
Which
Yeah, I
is normally
understand
what
that. I understand
what we do.
how the
The
program works.
budgets are approved and they
Yes,
don't
I
go into
understand that.
execution until July.
But my question, an answer?
Yes. So if I meant to say a merit and you thought that, and I said cost
I
of
know
living.
you said.
Okay. So my explanation to you is already, yes, it was a merit,
Okay,
okay?
everybody heard that. It was a merit.
Yes. And it wasn't $50,000 as your other.
I didn't bring up
Does
50,000.
it, do you
You're
have
bringing it up.
anything else, Mr. Strong?
Yes, I do. I know my 3 minutes is running a
Okay.
little long
Yes.
because we had to go through Santos' dissertation there. So you're not, never mind, I won't go back on that. I'm just going to put yourself and Mr. Councilman Spread on notice that you two will not run unopposed. I myself have been approached by multiple individuals and am considering which position to pursue. That is, at this time, I'm in a fact-finding thing, but you will not be unopposed.
Okay, well, I thank you for your time.
Oh, dismiss me?
No, I'm good with it. If you're gonna keep on talking, I'm just asking.
No.
Thank you, Mr. Strong. Is there anyone else? Mr. Clark, please take the podium and state your name and address for the citizens at home.
I'm Dan Clark. There may be more than one of us. I'm Daniel G. Clark, 1221 Mulberry. I wrote mine down too. Today, I apologized publicly for calling some of you lame ducks. No offense intended, but a Facebook reader told me it felt like a dig, like it was name-calling. I do apologize to anyone who takes it that way. As I explained on Facebook, I've long understood lame duck as a standard term connoting both reduced influence and increased freedom to act. It's never too late to apologize. When we meant well, but didn't come across as well as we wished. Sadly, it gets harder and harder as time passes, and insults pile up and suspicions grow. It doesn't help when both sides of the fight, whatever fight, have partisans cheering on their warriors and demanding no compromise with evil. Both sides of your fight have professed desires for mutually agreeable and respectful resolution at different times. But both sides have also launched defensive moves, exercising your rights, or acting fully in accordance with law. Defensive moves that constituted steps backwards, nevertheless. Well, I'm here to say it's simply never too late to reverse course. Any one of you can take the first step unilaterally. After the election, I posted on Facebook, Muscatine has spoken with a record voter turnout, but I feel sure it was not a vote against Charlie Harper or even a vote for Mayor Diana Broderson, as much as it was a repudiation of the current city council's folly. I stand by that assessment. The good you did here for the past 2 years was eclipsed by the folly for which your time will be remembered. So finally, I am here, sincerely, to thank you, each of you, winners or losers, if you think in those terms, for all the good you have done during the past 2 years. You have done much good, all of you, as you've done the people's business. Fewer sparks, less drama, fewer headlines. I see no winners or losers now. No mandates, no hidden agendas. I do see opportunity for a fresh start. Any one of you could take the first step.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Shelley Servadio, 522 Apartment 12, Mulberry. I would say that I really like that 90-day idea, and I would say that mediation would be a very good idea, because that would have you guys at a table talking, and having a mediator would have you guys do compromise. And if you guys would agree to a mediator, that could bring about resolution and move us forward as a city towards peace. And that would stop all this warring that we have, because we're supposed to be nonpartisan in our government here at the city level. That should be our goal. We have this beautiful hotel that just got awarded the IACC award that I read about today. That's a huge accomplishment of benefit towards our city. We have a port authority. We have all of these things that are so beautiful about our city, and there are so many beautiful things that are being accomplished that are being overshadowed by all of this fighting. I have brought my beautiful son with me today because I want him to learn about government. I want him to see what is good and beneficial when the citizens come together, and what we can accomplish together when we work together for the benefit of the health and wealth and prosperity of our town, because that's what we're here for. We're not here to bicker and fight. I saw Bobby Bynum hit the floor the other night, and I helped pick him up. He's my friend. This stress is too much for him, and these are his last days, and we should not let him go through this like this. So at least for his sake, can we all come together and mediate? And Greg, I would call upon you to find it in your heart to work together with all of this and with this town, and recall your lawsuit. Please stop. The people of this town have spoken. The vote has moved us forward. We have a chance at a new start. And as of January 1st, when the new council members step into their seats, you're going to have to work with new people. And that's something that you really need to think about. And I would hope that you would want to start off on a foot of a new start and a fresh start, not on one where you are bogged down by litigation, because that is not the way that we want to move forward in our town. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Servadio. Anyone else? Hearing no one, we're going to move along with tonight's agenda. We're on number 5, the consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event it will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes items 6A through C, items 8A through D, item 12A, and tonight's bills totaling $2,230,772.39?
So moved.
Second.
Second, Scott?
Mayor,
Yes.
real quick, I got a letter from, an email from Jamie Limoges, I'm not sure that's how
Yes.
you pronounce it. She just wanted to let you know that it wasn't the Community Foundation that's sponsoring the event, it's the Muscatine Journal.
Okay. Which event?
Oh, I'm sorry, Holiday Stroll.
Okay. Thank you, Fran. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries with all ayes. Jumping down to item 11A on tonight's agenda. We have a final reading of an ordinance authorizing changes and/or omissions in City Code Sections Title 6, Chapter 8, Title 13, Chapter 3, and Title 15, Chapter 8. Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance on final reading and to direct for its publication as required by law?
So moved.
Second?
Second, Your Honor.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Harvey, how do you vote?
Aye.
Spread?
Aye.
Saucedo?
Aye.
Raywalt? Fitzgerald?
Aye.
And Natbig.
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted with all ayes. Item 11B. Presented for City Council's consideration tonight is a resolution approving the contract and bond for the HNI Community Center and Musser Public Library. At its November 2nd meeting, City Council took action to award the bid for this project to Sheets General Construction in the amount of $651,900. It is now necessary for City Council to take action to approve the contract and bond for this project. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Fitzgerald, how do you vote?
Aye.
Natbig?
Aye.
Raywalt? Spread?
Aye.
Saucedo?
Aye.
And Harvey.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. 11C. Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution authorizing the assessment of unpaid abatement costs to private properties. Periodically, the city takes action to assess unpaid nuisance abatement costs to private properties. The nuisance abatement costs for snow, junk, and weed removal total $5,297.40. The administrative fees are $1,350, and the assessment fees are $1,700. The total fee being requested for assessment at this time is $8,347.40. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Saucedo, how do you vote?
Aye.
Harvey?
Aye.
Spread?
Aye.
Raywalt? Fitzgerald?
Aye.
And Natbig.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. 11D. Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution approving the final plat for the Tripar, am I saying that right? 5 addition. Thank you, Andrew. The proposed subdivision is located in unincorporated Muscatine County, but falls within the 2-mile limit requiring City Council's approval. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Harvey, how do you vote?
Aye.
Saucedo?
Aye.
Spread?
Aye.
Natbig?
Aye.
Fitzgerald?
Aye.
And Raywalt? The resolution is adopted with all ayes. 11E. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to convert a temporary 4-way stop at the intersection of 4th and Cherry Streets to a permanent all-way stop. This intersection is currently a temporary 4-way stop due to construction on the West Hill Sewer Separation Project. The Traffic Committee feels that this intersection is safer and functions better in the 4-way stop configuration. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Over on Mulberry, we had that blinking stoplight that was put in. I think Jim was in charge of that. I don't see him.
Over in second.
No, I think it was Mulberry over there in Hauser.
Mulberry and Hauser, they
Still
have
there.
flashing.
Yeah, it's still there.
They're still there.
Yeah.
How did we come up with that blinking light versus potentially looking at something like that on this on E?
Mayor, Council, we had one of those in stock, so we thought we'd try them there. It seemed like it made sense to do construction, change the route, heavier traffic streets. That's why those ended up there. We can order them for other locations.
I would like to just have the traffic committee discuss it. I would like to see if the traffic committee would be interested in seeing if there's any value in it in some of the higher traffic areas.
Place more around town?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
See if they think it's something that may be bringing value. I see it right away versus some of the areas that aren't well lit. And maybe some of the more areas, and let them make that decision. And then maybe we look at that, because that's still solar powered, right?
Yes, solar powered.
Yeah, and that'll meet right into our goals.
Brian, does the solar cell charge enough during the day to run it at night, or does that thing have to be wired?
It has a solar cell and like a rechargeable battery pack so that it retains the solar power in the battery pack. It runs it, as far as I know, it runs it all night. I haven't been out to look at them in the middle of the night, but.
They run continuously.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And they are,
See it at your window.
and everybody says that, does that bother you? The LEDs are so directional on that if you get off at an angle to them, you don't even, you can, if you're looking, you'll see a little red light, but it's not glaring in your windows. The only issue different from that particular location and others would be that that was really a change to the habits of people. And by having those flashing lights, it's kept accidents to a minimum. I think we still have
I'm not saying
had
on
a couple.
every stop sign. I just think it would be something, let the traffic committee kind of make that. If they're making this decision, it was just something that I wanted to see.
I'll bring that up and we'll evaluate that.
Let them make that decision, then just bring that to
Sure.
us if that's something that we want to purchase some of those.
Yeah, they could cut down on the number of LEDs.
Quite a few on
We don't design them, we just put them up.
You're 1,000 feet away, it's just this big red glow.
Thank you, Brian. We appreciate it. Hearing no other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. The request is approved with all ayes. 11F, presented for City Council's consideration is a request from the Fire Department for the issuance of a purchase order for updated Knox Key secure units. These key boxes have been utilized for the last several decades for access into the building. The key holders are at the end of their life, and support for the devices is being terminated. The quote for the replacement of 10 units is $5,677. There's $9,500 budgeted for this purchase. The Knox Company is the sole provider of these units. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Is there any cost to the business owner?
These are in vehicle.
These are actually in the fire, okay.
Right.
Okay.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. 11G, we have presented for City Council's consideration another request from the Fire Department for the issuance of a purchase order for ice rescue suits. The Fire Department has provided ice rescue services for several years. This purchase will allow the department to provide proper protection for the correct number of individuals to work safely. The low quote for this purchase was $5,829.70. There's $6,200 budgeted for the purchase. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted? Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I assume these are for the rescue personnel to wear, so if they happen to fall through the ice, they don't die of hypothermia. Okay.
Jerry says yes.
I've got another question. I mean,
Okay, you might as well come on up.
the highest quote was almost double what the lowest is. I'm just assuming you're comfortable with the quality of, or it's comparable.
Yes, we are.
specifications-wise?
We've bought equipment from them before. It's a
Oh,
reputable
okay.
place, so But you are correct. The suits are to protect the individuals that are either in the boat, on the ice, or in the water. The suits that we have currently were donated through the Sheriff's Department because we do joint rescue with them on the Mississippi River. And those are over 10 years old. The rubber and material has fallen apart. We've tried to repair them, but they're just degrading and they're not able to do that. So the suits that we have now, when we get in the water seeks in, and when the water is cold, it's harmful for the folks, and they can't stay in the water very good. So we need to protect the people in the water or that are on the ice or in the boat.
Are these such that,
Excuse me?
are these suits kind of fits all, so
Not really. We're going to buy two different sizes. So again, if you get a 6'4", and then you get a firefighter that's 5'5", they do stretch, but not that much. So we will get 3 and 3.
but they're good for whatever shift happens to be on duty when they get the call?
Chief, can you get them pretty fast?
Well, once you approve the purchase order, we'll get them ordered. But yeah, they don't take very long to get shipped.
So winter's coming, so that's good.
Yep.
Good to know.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Hearing no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. 11H, presented for City Council's consideration is a request from the Finance Department to approve the updated agreement for annual continuing disclosure filing services. The city currently has an agreement with Public Financial Management Incorporated for professional services for assistance with the annual continuing disclosure filings required by the city's bond issues. The annual fee is $2,000. Public Financial Management Incorporated has been transitioning financial advisory services to Public Financial Advisors, LLC, to align themselves with appropriate regulatory authorities, basically a name change. Staff is requesting that City Council take action to update the agreement to reflect the new current company name. The annual fee remains the same. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. 11I, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the ballot question and to authorize a letter to the County Board of Supervisors and County Auditor requesting a special election be held on March 6th of 2018 for the local option sales tax renewal. The city's current local option sales tax period expires on June 30th of 2019 unless it is reviewed by voter referendum. This issue has been reviewed in depth with the City Council. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. 11J, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve a memorandum of understanding between the Iowa Department of Transportation and the City of Muscatine. The Iowa Department of Transportation is trying to increase the profile of Iowa public transit services and needs data from systems like Muscabus to include in planning and designing future applications ranging from bus tracking to online scheduling and other possibilities. There is no cost for the city to participate. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. At this time, Brian Steinman, our Public Works Director, is going to provide an update on the sewer leak on the 30-inch force main sewer between the Musser Park lift station and the water pollution control plant.
Good evening again. You should have received a handout earlier, and I think you all had one, and I also supplied a photograph of a previous pipe condition, but The photograph, if you want to look at that, that's what we're dealing with. That's the type of break that we have in our 30-inch force main. It's located pretty much in the intersection of Day and Birch and Nebraska streets. We noticed it a couple weeks ago. In order to see what we were dealing with, we had to shut off that line. It's the only line between Mustard Park and the treatment plant. So when we do that, we are forced to bypass sewage flow into Papoose Creek lift station, which goes to the Mississippi River. That's the situation that we're in now. We have evaluated the line. We've come up with a couple different solutions. At this point, we're waiting from direction from the DNR on how they would like us to proceed. We had a brief conversation this morning. We were hoping to meet with them Monday morning to come to a resolution and a plan of action so that we can proceed and stop this leakage as soon as possible. So are there any questions about what you received? I know you maybe haven't had a whole lot of time to look at it. Basically, what we're dealing with is it's a 30-inch force main pipe. This takes all the waste from about 3/4 of the town to the water pollution control plant. With the crack, it's in a very difficult situation to repair. There's a 16-inch water main above it. It's unsafe to get into that location because the location that it broke is we think it's a jacking pit, so the backfill was all sand. So as we dig it, the walls collapse. So we had to dig the excavation with our vac truck to actually vacuum the sand out to expose the pipe to see what we were dealing with in the first place. A couple of options exist, which is what you have seen here. One is just to ban this pipe and hope that it holds together so we can stop the bypass until we can get time to do a more permanent fix. We don't think that's the best situation. We think that poses a lot of risk to life and safety of the workers that have to be in there to do that kind of work. Our preferred fix at this time would be to line the pipe from the lift station or from the connection in Mustard Park to a point on the other side of Grandview Avenue, going underneath the tracks, underneath Grandview Avenue, underneath all the pavement, and then open cutting a line from that whatever point we stop at to the plant and tying that whole new line together. That should get us, we expect 20 to 30 years life out of that pipe. Another option that could maybe go faster, it would be to put a smaller pipe inside the 30-inch pipe, basically shove a 24-inch pipe through the whole section, tie it in. That would allow us to eliminate the overflow sooner. However, it does reduce our capacity to flow. So now we're faced with having to remedy that situation at a later date. As I said before, the DNR is going to help us make this decision because basically they have to approve whatever we decide to do. So we're waiting for direction from them. Once we have that direction, we'll be able to proceed. If there aren't any other questions, I would like to request council approve an expenditure so that we can, because we're not going to meet again for 3 weeks, so we'd like to get this started as soon as possible. So I would request council approve expense up to $750,000 to start construction on this. There are funds available in the Sewer Extension Improvement Reserve Fund, and that's our best source of revenue to fix this, or funding to fix this, and we will have to get this fixed no matter what. So
I have a few questions.
Sure.
When you talk about the liner, what are you going to line it with?
It's called a.
Picture, it looks like it's bad as far as a crack.
Yeah, and that's just yes. So what we would do is it's a cured in place lining, and so basically it's kind of like a long balloon, you know, like the clowns that make balloons. You put it in one end and you push it all the way through. Then you put in hot water or steam, and that cures that liner in place. And so basically you're making a pipe inside the pipe. So you reduce your capacity a little bit, but it doesn't seal those gaps. It just basically creates a new pipe inside of that. So it's got, you know, there's different resins in there. If it's fiberglass or concrete or whatever, it's a, you know, proprietary mix of stuff, but that's how they do that.
But that's not the one you're recommending.
That would be our preferred, yes.
Yes,
that would give us the most longevity out of the system.
And it's
correct.
proven technology.
It is proven technology. It's used all around the country and the world. Yes.
Well, we've used that in Muscatine. There's a line over from like Cypress past.
Yes. This is a large line.
A smaller line.
Yeah, this is a very large line, so it'll have to be engineered. We're working with Stanley Consultants to help us with that, to get, you know, everything specified correctly to install it. But that was our preferred option, and that just gets us to, like I said, past Grandview, so we won't have any open cutting and tearing up the streets.
So why wouldn't you go ahead and line it the rest of the way rather than do an open?
It's cheaper to open trench and put in new pipe.
Okay.
and it's faster. Well, it's not faster, but it's less expensive. We can be doing that. If the DNR allows us, we can start doing the open excavation now. The liner we have to clean the pipe, have to televise the pipe, and then they order the liner, then they put the liner in. So that's about a 4-week process, maybe 5-week process. To put the liner in is a couple days, but to get it sized, manufactured to specifications, whatever they have to do with, there's a lot of science that goes on to that. I don't know what that all is, but I know it takes time.
With this crack.
That's the bottom. And
that's the bottom. Yeah,
yes,
I know.
Okay, just so you're aware. That's how the bottom of the pipe looks.
But lining a pipe that has a crack like that, is that bad science?
Well, not necessarily. I think the science has proven that it works.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of that. This is a way to leave it there and maintain the maximum capacity that we can get out of it.
I assume the manufacturer, if they run the camera through it and they see areas where maybe it's not appropriate to line, they would say so. To where.
Oh yeah, they would definitely let us know.
That liner needs.
The problem that they would look for is offsets and joints, things like that, or bends or curves that they can't maneuver that liner around. Those create issues. Valves, pipes, things like that. Now this is primarily a straight shot, if you will, from Mustard Park to about the bend in the road on Mustard, as you go towards the plant, and then before the bend, then it kind of follows that curve to the plant. So they could, in theory, line probably, I think they said 800 feet. I think it's just a straight shot we can get to relatively easy. And then at that point, you excavate a pit and you line the rest of the way, or you open cut or whatever, and then you tie those two pieces together. It's basically how it works. And it'd be similar with the shoving of the smaller diameter pipe in there. Similar, it's just that that's actual pipe that we would lay out on the ground, fuse it together, and just start shoving it down the line until we get to a point where we're there.
So. Another question, the 30-inch pipe, how old is it?
Pardon me?
How old is it?
1960 vintage, that era.
So.
This is the last remaining type of that pipe that we have. Everything else to that point, to Mustard Park, has been replaced over time. That's how we got that piece. So.
And this is ductile iron, probably, or is this cast iron?
Ductile? I believe it's ductile iron.
So, with your DNR recommendations and this being at the bottom, I mean, you're asking us to just give you the approval, but do we have a say in what we recommend or not?
You could have a say in our recommendations, but the DNR is going to say yes or no to the recommendations.
Okay.
So, I mean,
we're. How deep in the ground is this?
Well, where the break is, it's probably 8 feet. As we go towards the plant, it gets shallower, about 4 feet.
From John's maybe feedback or your feedback, I like number 3, just in my opinion. How would that affect your rates when you go down 6 inches overall, 1,400 feet?
The flow rate?
Yes.
It reduces capacity dramatically.
I know, but I wanted to know.
I don't have an exact number. I don't know if John has an exact number right now either. We can get that for you if you'd like to have that.
I would, just because
you're
asking to put in a liner on a 50-year-old line that's already at the bottom that looks, at least to me, 2 to 3 inches deep in some of those areas, and then 3 years down the road we may have this failure, because basically the way that stuff works, if I'm not mistaken, they have to go in there, water blast it, clean it, jet it, and prep it, and this is at the bottom of that pipe, so that epoxy stuff doesn't completely set when it's a complete break 3 or 4 inches deep. And just my feedback, it would be more comfortable that we go in there and you basically directional bore or run the piping right through it.
You'd rather pull the newer pipe through.
Section, and you know you have a new pipe versus.
The issue, okay, and I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, and the issue that we're going to run into with that, I guess that's why John's up here, is to reiterate that we will lose a lot of capacity with that, and so we will overflow more often at Papoose, and so we will have more CSOs if we do that, if we reduce the size of that pipe.
So all I'm asking for is, what percentage is that going to be? That way I have a number to say, okay, yeah, are we at capacity now, or are we running at 80% capacity, and this is going to get us at 100%?
We run on a 24-inch pipe right now,
with normal flows, so dry weather flow is no different. So we will not be discharging when we have dry weather. When it rains, we CSO at Papoose quite frequently anyway. So honestly, if we CSO a little bit more, meaning CSO meaning combined sewer overflow, if we do a little bit more than we usually do, that's what the consequences of that are.
I guess to me, looking at this is a Band-Aid in a sense. It's not a
The
capital.
pipe inside
Yeah,
is a Band-Aid until we install the new line, and that's what we're doing next. So this gives us the time to say we're going to run a new 30-inch line from the Mustard Park to the treatment plant. And this is just buying us that time.
So the slip line would be temporary then?
Correct. Well, no, the slip line will stay in. That'll be our redundant line.
Oh, okay, redundant.
So if we ever had to do anything again, we could use that line, especially during dry weather, or we could use them both during wet weather if it would help us pump more from the treatment from the lift station.
My understanding is that from Papoose here, there's two lines, the 130 and 124, both go in that direction?
There's a 30 and a 24 from Papoose to Mustard Park. 16, I'm sorry, 1624 to Mustard Park. And then when you get to Mustard Park, there's only one pipe that goes to the plant. That's the problem that we have. We can't bypass this flow because it just goes in a circuit back to the same place in Papoose. So that's why we're stuck here.
I thought that the parallel lines went from Papoose all the way to the treatment plant.
No. And that would be the next step. Regardless of what we decide, if we go with the slip line, the cured in place liner, or the smaller pipe through the 30-inch pipe, at some point we're going to have to come in and put a redundant line back in there, and it'll be a different alignment, but it's going to have to happen.
But
so
that would be easier if you had a 24-inch instead of a 30-inch. I mean, just.
It doesn't matter. The cost is about the same for either one of these. The timing is what's different. And so, like I said, the DNR is going to tell us which one we're going to do. If they want either one of these, they might come up with something else that we haven't considered yet. But
So what you're looking for tonight is a request approved?
yes, I need a request for funding so that once we get approved by DNR, we can begin construction as soon as possible.
Start moving right away.
Yes.
And the money's in the reserve.
Sewer Extension Reserve Fund?
Correct.
1.1 million, I believe, is in there.
You just need the authority of the PO.
This is emergency project, so our processes will be suspended.
I can make that motion.
John and Brian, Sycamore is a low spot, and businesses and businesses on 2nd Street are always at risk for flood, and it happens every year. And if Papoose Creek lift station pumping capacity goes down, there are going to be more of those buildings that are going to get flooded. And we will have
No, it'll go out through the river.
That goes out to the river.
They're sending it to the river.
Well, it doesn't now.
Yeah, it does.
It does. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's why they're getting the
Besides,
DNR.
ultimately, there'll be a new pipe in addition to.
Let me make a comment against the 24-inch slip line. If I do my math right, that 24-inch line will only have about 60% the capacity of the 36-inch line. So you're cutting a lot of capacity out.
Yes.
But that's if it's running full capacity now, is what I'm asking.
It's running. The 30-inch is running full now. Yes.
That's what
Yes, I'm sorry. I misunderstood your question. Then yes, we are running when it's running. It's at capacity all day, every day. Okay. Yes.
Gents, let me go back a little bit. The Carpet Store, Medical Arts Building, Tom Bankhead's building, and others around there have been hit repeatedly with backups. And so it does happen with alarming frequency now. And what's going to happen if we reduce the pumping capacity at Papoose Creek?
I don't think those are sanitary backups. I think you're referring, those are either stormwater or during flood events, we get a lot of groundwater in those areas as well. But I don't believe those are sanitary events that you're talking about.
Gets pumped
and
Papoose
Mississippi
Creek.
Drive project has specific improvements at Sycamore to address some of the stormwater issues.
And I thought Carriage House Carpet One had their issue corrected. Last thing I talked to them, I don't know, but they've had it corrected.
These are more a function of the wastewater backing up into the tunnel and going up into the sewer lines that are connected to the tunnel. There's nothing that the Papoose station can do to pump the rain coming down Papoose Creek. So when it rains and it fills the tunnel and goes back up the sewer lines, it goes back up into their businesses and establishments. It's true. When they disconnect those and they go to a sanitary line that runs directly to the wet well, the Papoose station, they should not have that problem any longer.
Okay, so, obviously the DNR is gonna give us guidance, you're just wanting to get the funding, so
Correct.
I'll make a motion to that.
Scott made a motion
Yeah,
already.
okay,
I'm
all right.
looking for a second.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion and a second to approve up to $750,000 to get moving right away as soon as the DNR gives input on which direction. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes.
Oh, that was a quick 750.
Next, we have a request from Councilmember Mike Raywalt to begin discussion on a search for a new city attorney.
Greg, did you find that email that I sent you Tuesday night or Wednesday morning?
Which email?
Well, it's not critical. I wanted to do more than just begin the discussion.
That's what's on the agenda.
What the agenda item is.
Wanted to do more than that. That's okay. I think we were not well served by Brick and
Please put your microphone back down,
I
Councilman
think we
Raywalt.
were not well served by Brick and Gentry on a number of different occasions through this process. And I don't want to go into chapter and verse, but I talking over the several months with my colleagues, that seemed to be a fairly prevalent opinion. And, if you win, you get a gold star. If you lose, you're gone. And I think this whole thing, you could get it done by December 31st with some hustle, starting in Muscatine and going out to Scott County, Lynn. I doubt there's anything otherwise there, Cedar, but you never know. And find some new talent. And I move that we do that, to be completed by December 31.
Well, I too agree that I've been disappointed in some of the legal advice that we've received, so I would not be opposed if we investigate other city attorney possibilities.
Was that a second?
He made a motion. He's looking for a second.
I'll second it. I seconded it.
What are my colleagues' thoughts?
I personally don't think it's necessary at this time. Take any action to find different legal counsel. It's just my opinion.
What would be the right time?
Leave it alone for now.
Billy, you were on the committee last time.
Yes, I was. We interviewed numerous law firms and their representatives. And Muscatine County, Muscatine City, we had one law firm that made it to the final 3 or 4 and was taken out of consideration almost immediately. So
On qualifications?
yeah, basically.
What kind of a contract are we in with Brick Gentry? Is it a
Contracts are attached.
month?
The contracts are attached.
So do they, yes, I read them, but do they,
There's
can we
no-
terminate at any time?
Yes.
It's a professional services contract.
I'd just like to note that the city attorney has not increased, or their firm has not increased rates since they were hired by the city of Muscatine for both employment law and for city attorney services. There are 2 main, in my opinion, law firms that handle municipal law in the state of Iowa, Lynch Dallas and Brick Gentry. There are a number of attorneys and firms that do some municipal work, but that do not do the breadth of service that either of those 2 firms do. You're talking anywhere from contracts, codes, litigation, landfill, solid waste, CPR, IDNR, prosecution, police, fire, civil service, employment law, insurance, risk management, construction law, municipal operations, nuisance, property acquisition, annexation, numerous issues that are specific to city audits, mandates, labor negotiations, state and federal regulations. And both of those firms offer that breadth of services. And Brick Gentry specifically had experts in landfills and that others did not have. Jim Brick specifically is well known and respected in the field with Iowa Department of Natural Resources. I do not think that you will, even if you were to find somebody locally, I think that those individuals or firms will be looking for outside resources and expertise, and so you will not be paying the current $150 rate. You will be paying in excess of that, likely between $250 and $350 an hour for services that we're paying $150 an hour for now. So it would be my recommendation to keep services as is.
Some of the firms without that specialty, then, if we were to engage them, they would have to kind of sub that work out.
Right.
And we used
Your
to,
opinion?
and we had that when Harvey Albee was city attorney. If he was, our labor lawyer was not out of his office, it was Mr. Supel. Any other legal matters that came up that his office didn't handle, couldn't handle, or basically wanted somebody with more expertise, we subcontracted. And that was one of the main reasons that I voted to retain this law firm, was because of their actions and expertise in dealing with DNR. When we hired this or changed law firms, we were having what I felt was issues with DNR from one side or the other. It was either the city or DNR had issues with each other, and I just felt it was necessary to have that experience and expertise.
A lot of the feedback that I've received from the community is that people would wish that our city attorney lived and worked in our community, so that their tax dollars that they pay to the city attorney are spent at our stores, at our businesses, at our, and are used.
You're just not going to find anybody in town that...
I know we wouldn't find anybody for some of those specialty things, but I mean, I don't think they come up every day either.
Well, they weren't, even the individual that applied, he doesn't live in the city. And so you're just, in my opinion, you're not going to find a local lawyer that is going to do our level of legal work.
I think you're probably right. I think we had to start here just as a matter of fairness.
The other issue is conflict of interest. I think a number of your local attorneys are going to have conflicts of interest that firms from outside do not have, firms that are specialized in municipal law. So.
All these things being true, let's say, it doesn't cost the city to go request an RFP from other attorney agents, businesses that might be interested. It doesn't cost us anything to go out and ask, if any are, I wouldn't think.
There's a number in the Quad Cities, in Iowa City and Cedar Rapids, that certainly aren't in our community, but are a lot closer.
Takes a lot of, it takes a fair amount of staff time to set up all this, and with budget starting and that, I just don't think it's a good idea. And I'm not necessarily happy with the outcome of what's transpired over the last year, but I'm not ready to throw in the hat and go out for another law firm. Not at this time.
Is there any further discussion? We have a motion and a second on the table. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Sounds like we have 2 ayes and 4 nays. Was that correct?
No. You want to show of hands?
3 and 3.
Yes, please. Aye. 2 ayes.
Okay.
And nays. We have 4. So we'll move on. Next on tonight's agenda. Oh, we're all the way to the end.
Yep.
Close to. We have communication from council members. Councilman Spread, do you have anything tonight?
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Councilman Harvey?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Councilman Saucedo?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Councilman Raywalt?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Nothing at this time, Your Honor.
Councilman Natvig?
Nothing, thank you.
Staff?
I didn't have anything tonight, Your Honor, and I don't intend to address the comments tonight, but I do think it would be helpful for council and those in the public to understand the process. The city has an insurance carrier that we work with. It's called ICAP. ICAP determines whether or not there is coverage. Assuming there is coverage, they appoint legal counsel to the party or parties. It will not be Brick Gentry. They are not contracted with ICAP. I am not involved in the process, but only involved through council. HR acts as the deputy city clerk for service and coordinates with ICAP. Any closed sessions, just to be clear, I would not be included. I do not know if the mayor would be included or not, but I wanted to be clear there is a clear separation between myself and anything that goes on. So.
I just had a couple of quick things. First of all, I'd like to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone and remind people that there is a Thanksgiving meal being served at MCSA from 11:30 to 1:30 on Thanksgiving Day for anybody not having family or a place to go for Thanksgiving dinner. I know you would be welcomed warmly. And if you are not going there to partake, they also are looking for volunteers. So if you have something to do or some time that's open, please contact them at 264-3278 if you are able to help them either before, during, or after their Thanksgiving meal. I know it will be greatly appreciated by their staff. I know that we as a community have had a rough year, and certainly our country has experienced terrible things like shootings and deaths in your family and natural disasters over this past year. But in light of the season, I would ask us to pause and reflect on all of the blessings that we do have. We have freedom to speak our mind. We have the freedom to vote. We have the freedom to be treated equally, and we have the love of our families. Let's be kind to one another and thank the Lord for the many, many gifts that we all have and experience in our community. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and we will take a short recess to move into closed session.
Your Honor.
Thank you.
I'd like to, I'm neglected to say this, but I'd like the community to keep Bob Bynum in their hearts and prayers because he is not well.
We will continue. We will take a 10-minute recess.